Just when you thought that 2023 was going to be an amazing year for games with instant classics like Baldur's Gate 3 launching and tremendous games like Starfield and Tears of the Kingdom. Well, in comes Unity to kind of mess all that up. Unity has done something very, very rare in the gaming space, which is a little bit ironic given their name. You see, they have unified developers and players and everyone across the gaming industry in one single goal, one single purpose, and that's screw Unity. The announcement of how Unity is going to be charging game developers has pissed off a lot of people, and for good reason. Now, I decided to cover this because this is a story that is potentially going to impact really just about anyone who plays any sort of video game. It's a big deal, but a couple disclaimers before we get into it. This is a rapidly changing story, one that has already had a couple different developments with changes and clarifications coming from Unity, as well as legal questions that I was made aware of as I was writing this script for this video. So keep in mind that there's a lot of different things going on and things could change quickly. I also want to point out that I am not a game developer. I am just some dude that really likes playing video games and really likes to talk about them with you. I couldn't develop a paper bag if I was given a year and all the tools to do it. So anything that I get wrong, please let me know down in the comment section below, because I would like to get it right. And if there's something really pertinent, I will pin the comment. Let's get into what is happening, why it's a worry for developers, why it's a worry for players, and why it might not even be legal. If you've been around gaming, you've probably heard of two of the biggest game engines, Unreal Engine and Unity. Finding exact numbers on what market share each holds was difficult, especially when it gets a little bit cloudier with mobile games where Unity reigns supreme. But raw numbers have Unity as the largest game engine in use, with reports in 2021 showing Unity with 40% of the market and Unreal with 30%. Take this with a huge grain of salt though, because other reports have shown as high as 50% for Unity and as low as 16% for Unreal Engine. With most of these sources coming from sort of like Yahoo, World Industry News, Value Coders, Hacker.io, etc. Basically all the sources are weak at best, but they all agree on one thing. Unity is very big and Unreal is second. And the massive change that has absolutely set the entire internet on fire: Unity is adding a fee every time a game developed in Unity is installed. There are some additional notes here, like the fact that there are cutoffs for when these fees would kick in after a set number of installs and revenue, but basically it's going to cost developers more. Ludwig over on Mogul Mail broke it down into an eye-watering sum, where the example given by Unity would be essentially Unity taking a 14% cut from their revenue. This is in addition to their subscription fee. But that 14% and the subscription fee, all of that gets a little cloudier when you look at their different tiers. More on that later, but first let's get to Ludwig.
Big games are going to have to pay a lot more money, and it doesn't even have to be that big to start paying a huge chunk. Here's an example from Unity's website directly. I don't even have to make up the numbers, they did it for us. In this example, we have a game that made $2 million in the past year and had 5 million installs, which surpasses both thresholds. If they were to have 200,000 installs from standard fee countries and 100,000 installs from emerging market fee countries, they would owe $23,500 in just 1 month. If that keeps going for a year, they would owe $282,000, or 14% of this $2 million revenue number that they posted, which is insane.
This is kind of ridiculous. Not just in the sheer numbers, the 14% of revenue, which is a lot to take, but in the drastic changes that are happening. Something I can compare it to is how I do things on this channel. I pay a lump sum, an annual fee to a company to give me music like this, as well as sound effects like this, things that I can just add into the video to make it a bit more of a gratifying and valuable experience to you. So it's not just, me talking like this and having nothing to go on, no sounds, no music, no visuals other than game trailers and stuff like that. It's just a value-added service. Now imagine that company decided that they're going to start charging me per view instead of this annual fee. Well, that would mean that the video that I recently had on MMORPGs that kind of exploded and went up to almost 150,000 views, if I was being charged 20 cents per view on that video alone, that video by itself would have cost more than the entire annual fee I was paying before that. It's almost like a punishment in a way for success. But beyond that, it's obvious that it's just costing more money. But wait, hold on. It gets worse. Because imagine that annual fee was still there, and then they also added in the extra 20 cents per view. Because that's essentially what Unity is doing. The benefit to Unity is clear. Make more money. The benefit to developers and gamers? Well, I'm just not really seeing it. It gets even worse when you look at the Unity Personal and Unity Plus plans, which drops the revenue thresholds to 200,000 over the last 12 months and 200,000 installs versus the 1 million on the higher plans. And actually, they charge more for those downloads at 20 cents per install versus 15 cents to 2 cents per install for Unity Pro, or even less for Unity Enterprise. Essentially meaning it's going to hit indie developers and hobbyists harder, as many are going to be springing for the 2K per year or 5K per year plans associated with the lower download costs, all while decimating games with lower box prices since the fees are a flat rate, not a percentage. Unity is trying to have their cake and eat it too. The way that this hurts developers is pretty obvious. It's going to hurt the overhead. It's going to make games cost more for those developing teams. Games considering using Unity are going to potentially need to reevaluate and maybe go with a different engine, because the cost analysis is going to lean heavily away from Unity now. Unity is going to be too expensive for many developers. And the reason why is because it's not like Unity is adding something here. They aren't adding any extra incentive to make them more worthwhile. They're just adding cost. The same product for a higher cost. There's no benefit here. It's just all negative. But that's all looking towards the future though. Future games that may be making that cost analysis now with this information. The games that are going to be hurt the most are the ones that are currently in development or the ones that have already been made, like Pantheon Rise of the Fallen and Cult of the Lamb. But hey, at least there's a silver lining to all this, because they're not going to charge you for all like the backdated, all you know, if your game exploded in 2022 or 23, you don't have to pay for all those downloads and installs that were previously covered by the old pricing plan that you agreed to. No, you only have to pay starting January 1st for the game that you had already previously made under those plans that you had agreed to before. Wait, this doesn't seem like such a silver lining anymore. Uh-oh. Developers will have had years of work under a set price scheme and are now being surprised to have the rug pulled out from under them. It's just gross. Like, it's just gross and greedy, and it feels wrong. Developers had been sold on one pricing structure, and now they're being told that there's all these hidden fees, but it's not something that's easy to pivot from. Even I know, without with no development history, no understanding really of what goes into making a game, except a general passing interest, it's not fucking easy to switch from one game engine to the next game engine. They are kind of locked in, and they were locked in because they were sold a product. They were told this is what it's going to cost. And now they're being told, oh wait, by the way, now that you're already hooked, now you have this fee on top of it. Which we understand that this probably would have made you go with this company, but now, you know, you've already got like 2 years, 3 years, 5 years of work in this. Why not keep going? It's just messed up. It really is. I don't know how else to think about it. It's just a messed up thing. I can scarcely imagine how this impacts developers' confidence going forward, and the parallels to the Dungeons & Dragons Wizards of the Coast fiasco with the OGL is very, very apparent to me. How that actually ended up costing them third-party publishers because they had destroyed goodwill. It makes people question, why would you take the risk? But there's a bigger concern here, a bigger concern for games and gamers, game developers, everyone. What if other companies see what Unity is doing and say, it's a good idea? What if Unreal decides that they think that's a good idea? This is a major concern when you see something like this, is one company kind of testing the waters and seeing how the market reacts to something so ridiculous. But that's something we're just gonna have to wait and see what actually happens, because there has been such a massive blowback to this that we may dodge this one at least a little bit. But honestly, circling back to the Wizards of the Coast D&D OGL, when that was going down, Pathfinder came out and they added basically an OGL that was guaranteeing the rights that Wizards of the Coast was basically taking away. I would love to see that from some of these other game engines, to put some pressure on Unity to not do this to people. It'd be nice. But how is this going to directly hurt players? Well, there's an imminent issue coming as soon as early next year, one that has been highlighted by none other than Cult of the Lamb. We are potentially going to be losing games. Cult of the Lamb came out of the gate swinging with a powerful statement. Buy Cult of the Lamb now, because we're deleting it on January 1st. Kissy face. Developer Megacrit came out with a powerful statement of their own. The Megacrit team has been hard at work these past 2+ years on a new game, but unlike Slay the Spire, the engine we have been developing in is Unity. The retroactive pricing structure of runtime fees is not only harmful in a myriad of ways to developers, especially indies, it is also a violation of trust. We believe Unity is fully aware of this, seeing as they have gone so far as to remove their TOS from GitHub. They go on to say that they're busy now migrating their game, that game that is currently in development, to a new engine, unless of course the TOS is reinstated. And because this channel runs a lot on MMOs and RPGs, so there's a bunch of MMOs that are actually been built in Unity engine or are being built in Unity. Albion Online, Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, Crowfall, Fractured Online, Shroud of the Avatar, even the wonderfully nostalgic Adventure Quest, the game that Josh Drive Hayes just covered in a massive video. All of these games are either released or deep in development, where switching over to a new engine would be very difficult, if not impossible. Well, except Crowfall, because I guess that released and then closed, but still made in Unity. Artix, creator of Adventure Quest and Adventure Quest Worlds, had this to say. Your friendly neighborhood game devs here at Artix Entertainment are shocked and feel betrayed by Unity's pricing announcement. As we make free-to-play games which stand to be hurt the most by this change, our voice joins that of other studios in asking Unity to revert their decision. Charging per install on free cross-platform games like ours, which encourages players to log in from multiple devices, defeats the very reason we dedicated the last 10 years to using Unity. To our players, know we are 100% committed to continuing to create, expand, continue weekly updating our games for you, no matter what it takes. I thought Arctic's statement here was really important because it points to another major issue with all of this. With the way that it's being laid out, even after they have clarified installs, so like saying like, okay, no, reinstalls aren't going to be an issue. You won't be charged for reinstalls, and you won't be charged potentially, maybe in some nebulous way, for people pirating the games, although they haven't been super clear about how they're going to be going about doing that, and if it's something where you pay up front and then you have to fight it later. But all that besides the point, genuine things like this, where you have a game like Adventure Quest, which is available on browser, on desktop, and on mobile, and is the same game across all of those things, and the same user may use all three of those, that's going to be three charges. That's going to be three charges going to Artix for just for the way the game is made, and the fact that it is a free-to-play game, which means it's not like they're getting any money from those installs on the other side. So every install is a net loss unless that player goes on to spend money in the game in some sort of microtransaction. And before you get into this like silver lining of, oh well, maybe it'll cut off on like free-to-play games, there's no positives here. There really isn't. This is just going to hurt development for games. It really is. It's going to disincentivize development of indie games. It's going to it's just not a good thing. It's why I have decided to add my voice to this chorus of anger around this change, because as someone who plays games, I'm upset by this. I'm upset to see what could potentially happen and how this could disincentivize people making games in Unity going forward. How this could disincentivize a lot of my friends who are currently trying to make their own game, who are trying to live out this joy, this artistic expression of making their own indie game. And now they're being told that on that free plan, every install is going to cost them 20 cents. For their free game that they're making. Even for me, when I'm writing books and I was picked and going through Amazon, I don't get charged for you downloading my book. They take a percentage, they take a chunk out of it, and it's too much. And there is a fee in there, like a download fee, but I don't get, if I give my book away for free, I'm not charged. Even Amazon isn't doing this. All I know is that a lot of developers woke up this week and they're facing some tough decisions, some very tough decisions. And I really hope that this gets pulled back by Unity, although I would suggest that a lot of the damage has already been done with the trust in that company, just like damage to Wizards of the Coast was done with their whole OGL thing. But it's something that I've been seeing a lot of, and maybe I'm just more tuned into it now, of the company's coming out with this huge cataclysm thing that they're gonna do, and then backing off of it and being like, oh wait, no, but it's not actually a cataclysm, it's just a minor disaster. And then hoping that we accept the minor disaster. But I did say that there might be some legal issues to this, and I wanted to touch on that before we go. Sheridan Games team has put together some thoughts on whether the changes put in Unity are at legal risk. Key among them are abuse of a dominant position, which could lead to challenges under unfair competition and antitrust rules. Unity, with its dominant position in the market, making these unilateral pricing changes where their product is a vital component to the creation of so many gaming businesses, could have a chilling effect on gaming business and their ability to continue trading and innovation. If this sounds familiar to you, you probably watched too much of the FTC trial on Activision Blizzard just like I did. Second is going to be unilateral price changes in B2B contracts, which may be subject to the reasonable test in Unfair Contract Terms Act of 1977. A B2B contract is an agreement between two independent companies, and as Sheridan Games teams notes, the reaction over the last 24 to 48 hours demonstrates that reasonableness could certainly be called into question. This all sounds similar to their third point around the UK and EU's platform business regulation, which governs prohibition on retroactive changes, which from my layman's perspective, with no legal background whatsoever, it would at least cover a game like, say, Cult of the Lamb, which is already released, being subject to new pricing structures going forward. This is as far as I'll get into the legal part of this, because I just functionally do not understand it. I cannot wrap my head around it. But I have linked the sources down below, so if you want to see more about all the things going on in this, I linked I linked Ludwig's video, I linked all the sources that I use for this, and I linked the tweet in there as well. So if you want to find out more, go check those out down there. But one final note on this that I want to stress before we end: Unity is still a company made up of people. And there's a lot of people that are at lower levels of this company that probably vehemently disagree with this. There are people that are going to be caught up in this firestorm that had nothing to do with it and may have actually fought against it. Think about your own place of work. Do you agree with everything that your company does? Have you ever tried to fight against things, the decisions that they make? And have you been told, just shut up? Keep that in mind and try to be, at least have some human compassion towards some of these other people, and don't go out there and be mean just for the sake of being mean. You know what I mean? Now that that's done, please fill out the comment section with everything that I have said and done wrong, and I will pin anything that is pertinent. So if there's something in here, check the pinned comment to see if there's there's something I really got wrong that needs to be corrected, some kind of numbers or something like that. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Redbeard Flynn. I am going to go close all 15 of these damn tabs that I have open to research this thing, and I'm going to play some damn EverQuest because I need to just move away from this for a little bit. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.